Star Wars es más que una película exitosa. Es un éxito absoluto. Con impresionantes efectos especiales. El film está rompiendo la taquilla en todos lados. Star Wars es el viejo y conocido entretenimiento para toda la familia.
Star Wars es una épica ópera espacial creada por George Lucas. Empezó con la homónima película y pronto se convirtió en un fenómeno de la cultura pop. La franquicia se expandió en el cine y en otros medios como series de televisión, videojuegos, novelas, cómics, parques de diversiones y merchandising, todo al compás del universo ficcional. Pero seguramente lo que hizo de esta franquicia un éxito fueron los juguetes. Figuras de acción, peluches, juegos de rol, loncheras y artículos fueron creados para la franquicia. Sin duda, la línea más icónica es la de las figuras de acción vintage. En este documental no solo exploraremos la historia del film y los juguetes que inspiró, también descubriremos la historia de la compañía que los creó mientras disfrutamos de las figuras filmadas en alta definición. Esta no es solo la historia de una gran línea de juguetes, es la historia de la línea que lo empezó todo. Algunos llaman a los 70 la década transicional. Las cosas eran particularmente extrañas en aquellos años. Y la razón de esto probablemente sea la locación entre los ultradeterminados años 60 y los íconos bulliciosos que llegaron a final de los 70s, como el disco y el punk, Atari y Taxi Driver, y la llegada del estéreo personal, más conocido como Walkman. Los 70 fueron años problemáticos en los Estados Unidos. En alguna medida, era una continuación de los 60 con su rebeldía heredada de la guerra de Vietnam y el trauma del caso Watergate. La crisis del petróleo de final de la década puso más atención en la conservación. En aquel tiempo, el ambientalismo fue tan importante que el búho Woodsy interrumpía los dibujos animados para aconsejar a los niños no contaminar el medio ambiente. La gente se volcó a la esfera privada y los comportamientos sociales cambiaron durante esos años. Muchos se retiraron de la política y la desconfianza en el sistema arrastró a otros a la cultura pop. Esta es la década de la TV por cable, la tribu Brady y la carita feliz. La gente escuchaba cintas de Jackson Browne, Olivia Newton-John, Donna Summer y Marvin Gaye. Pelo largo y ropa rotosa se convirtieron en la norma. Pantalones hasta el ombligo, vestidos flojos, ponchos y jeans frisados dominaron la vestimenta de esos años. Aunque los 70 empezaron con Hollywood experimentando una crisis financiera y artística, la década se transformó en un punto cúlmine del cine. La aparición de nuevos directores le permitió a Hollywood ser más libre, tomar nuevos guiones y experimentar con nuevos films.
We've got many people who've had their fill of telephone bills and all other aspects of reality are finding a futuristic way of putting their problems aside for a while.
Entre los nuevos directores se encontraba uno muy joven, llamado George Lucas, que había dirigido una producción de bajo presupuesto llamada American Graffiti en 1973, basada vagamente en su adolescencia en Modesto, California. Sin embargo, el Nobel director tenía una loca idea para hacer una ópera espacial que estaba muy alejado de ese primer film suyo.
Is that it's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Puede ser que Star Wars sea la mayor franquicia hoy, pero la película original fue un riesgo enorme. Algunos afirman que la producción fue una de las más complicadas de la historia de Hollywood. Una vez que Lucas consiguió un estudio para invertir en su película, para lograr los efectos visuales requeridos, tuvo que crear su propia compañía. Durante la filmación, tuvo que luchar con integrantes del equipo que no se tomaban la película en serio, creyendo que estaban haciendo una película para niños. Filmar en Túnez fue una pesadilla para Lucas. La locación tuvo la peor tormenta en 50 años. A pesar de todo, y luego de 3 años de producción, Lucas y su equipo completaron el film con éxito.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Here they come.
Star Wars.
Coming in too fast.
Estrenada en 1977, Star Wars lanzó una nueva forma de hacer cine con efectos especiales. Un mundo que mezcla el mito y el cuento de hadas. Aunque el presupuesto final fue de $11 millones, el film logró recaudar más de 530 a nivel mundial con su estreno original, poniendo la base de una franquicia que se extenderá por décadas, creando generaciones de fans por el mundo, todos conectados por la pasión por una galaxia muy lejana.
Rated PG.
It was exciting, but I didn't like the bit when the man chopped off the person's arm.
Why not?
Because there was blood.
Oh, but don't we like blood?
No.
La película fue un éxito total y la gente estaba deseosa de más Star Wars. Pero la genialidad de la película no se quedó solo en la gran pantalla. Desde el comienzo, George Lucas había diseñado una estrategia para que, de ser exitosa, el triunfo no se limitara a la taquilla, sino que se expandiera a otras áreas. Una de estas áreas era el merchandising y los juguetes.
One of the things is a mask that I'm holding. There's a line of 4 masks: a Stormtrooper, C-3PO, Darth Vader, and Chewbacca, and also with his mouth open and with his mouth closed. These are out now in the stores. There's also a children's costume line out. The T-shirts and posters have been out since June. This is a Darth Vader. This will be out shortly. It's being shipped now. And this is one of the heat transfer shirts that's been out since a series of 4 that's been out since July. And tremendous reception. Everybody's buying these things like hotcakes. We've got lunch boxes out. We've sold 86,000 lunch boxes in the month of August. The bubblegum cards are out. Thousands of cases of bubblegum cards. The children's costumes, 35,000 dozen. It goes on and on. For Christmas, we're going to have a Star Wars digital watch that Texas Instruments is putting out. Kenner Products, which is part of General Mills, is coming out with the initial line of Star Wars toys, which is a board game that's called Escape from the Death Star. Will be out in October. 4 jigsaw puzzles, paint by number sets. That's just the beginning. There are 50 items in the line, including a Star Wars toothbrush.
Pepper's ads, that's...
Meanwhile, we'll be seeing our Star Wars heroes and villains in other forms too, even before the film itself. We'll be seeing them in the shape of orange-flavoured marshmallows here, all the different characters that you'll get to know when you've seen the film. There's some bubble bath here with galactic bubbles, make your bath time really exciting, and the soaps in different characters. There are jigsaw puzzles too, one of the characters here, Chewbacca, with Han Solo, and of course, must have the book of the film. And up here there's a Star Wars scrapbook, there's space notes here and memory bank, they're notebooks, the inevitable poster, more posters here, and these look fun. These are transfers of the different characters with the instructions here, and of course the double LP of the show. Lovely music, and this is a splendid cover here. In the centre you've got all the photos of different scenes there, and a rather nice plain cover. And I'm sure the message which you will get, whether you like it or not, may the Force be with you.
Fue justamente idea de George Lucas la de crear juguetes inspirados en bocetos del film. Aunque algunas series de TV como El Hombre Nuclear habían lanzado exitosas líneas de juguetes, hasta el momento ninguna película lo había logrado y parecía un gran riesgo. Para peor, en el intento de mantener la producción del film en secreto, Lucas autorizó a la compañía de juguetes solo 6 meses antes para diseñar y producir la línea de juguetes. Un complejo proceso que suele llevar 1 o 2 años. Curiosamente, todas las grandes compañías, incluyendo Mego, Mattel, Parker Brothers y Hasbro, rechazaron la osada propuesta de Lucas. Sin embargo, la última, una pequeña empresa llamada Kenner, aceptó el desafío. Los productos Kenner fueron fundados en 1946 por los hermanos Steiner, Albert, Philip y Joseph, oriundos de Cincinnati, Ohio. Originalmente concebida para desarrollar jabón y polvo para lavar, en los años 50 se lanzaron al mercado del juguete con la pistola lanzaburbujas Bubble-Matic. Fue seguida por otros productos para niños como ladrillos para construir, hornos de cocina y el Spirograph en 1966. Kenner es conocido como uno de los pioneros en el sector en promocionar su marca en TV con un pegadizo eslogan. La compañía fue vendida en 1966 a General Mills, dueños de licencias como la plastilina Play-Doh. 3 años después, la compañía Mills fue dividida en 2. Kenner para las figuras de acción con la presidencia de Bernard Loomis y Parker Brothers para los juegos de mesa. Sus éxitos para mitad de los 70 fueron Stretch Armstrong y las figuras del Hombre Nuclear.
Kenner's Bionic Woman comes with everything seen here. Mission assembly required.
La adquisición de la franquicia de Star Wars fue lo que realmente revolucionó la vida de Kenner. De un día para otro, la pequeña compañía de Cincinnati comenzó a jugar en las grandes ligas del juguete.
Star Wars truly is forever.
Hasta cierto punto, la suerte estuvo del lado de Kenner. En el staff de la rudimentaria compañía había algunos fanáticos del sci-fi que seguían la carrera de Lucas y vieron potencial en Star Wars. El contrato que hicieron con Lucasfilm y Fox, encargados de la licencia de Star Wars, no fue tan rentable para Lucas como lo fue para Kenner. Por cada dólar que Kenner vendiera, solo 1 centavo era dividido entre Lucas y Fox. Sin embargo, Kenner tenía un problema. Aunque poseía la licencia para producir los juguetes, Star Wars estaba a solo 1 mes de los cines. Por esta razón, antes de lanzar las figuras de acción, Kenner tuvo que recurrir a cambiar las pegatinas para saciar al mercado. Esta estrategia consiste en cambiar los stickers de algunos juguetes con la etiqueta de la nueva franquicia, Para la Navidad de 1977, Star Wars se había convertido en el film más exitoso de todos los tiempos, y Kenner no tenía juguetes para vender, salvo por unos rompecabezas y juegos de mesa.
Star Wars has beamed in on the psyche of America's children and is compelling Santas across the nation to reach for their wallets as Christmas approaches.
What do you want for Christmas?
What many kids want are toys inspired by the movie. Official Star Wars toys are produced by the Kenner Company of Cincinnati, and in toy stores now are such Kenner items as Star Wars games and puzzles. But the typical red-blooded outer-spaced American kid wants to find the personnel of the movie under the Christmas tree.
La realidad es que Kenner no estaba preparado para el éxito de la película, básicamente porque Lucas no permitió compartir a tiempo los diseños de los personajes y los vehículos, por miedo a que estos fueran copiados por los competidores.
Now that most parents are beginning to think seriously about the toys they're going to get their kids for Christmas, they'll find science fiction toys are being pushed hard. A lot of that is due to the success of the movie Star Wars, but that's also causing problems.
Kenner entonces ofreció un certificado que debía ser enviado por correo a la compañía a cambio de las figuras que llegarían en el futuro.
With this colorful Star Wars picture display stand and certificate to send in to get a set of figures by mail. They'll be sent to you at home between February 1st and June 1st. The Star Wars Early Bird Certificate Package, new from Kenner.
Great, huh, kids? Yep, but you can't have them. Not now and not at Christmas time. Although there are plenty of science fiction figurines in the stores, and although some of them look like the Star Wars characters, the official Kenner Star Wars models are still in production in the Orient and won't be ready for several months. But Kenner has found a solution of sorts. Christmas morning, millions of American youngsters will look under the tree and find cardboard folders containing a certificate worth 4 Star Wars models. No laser gun is provided to help open the cardboard folder, a project that could take months. Here are the directions. Instruction number 3 tells you to mail in the certificate. Instruction number 4 tells you to set up the display stand for the Star Wars figures. And instruction number 5 tells you that between February 1st and June 1st, 1978, you'll receive your set of 4 figures. By then, of course, the stage set is likely to be shredded cardboard, and Mom and Dad are likely to be a little tired of hearing the youngsters say, "Have they come yet?" And they'll be ready for a little outer galactic solitude. Stephen Gear, ABC News, somewhere in Toyland.
La idea parecía osada al principio y aunque estaba destinada a fracasar, sorprendentemente resultó. Miles de niños recibieron ese certificado para Navidad, esperando las figuras que llegarían meses después. Las primeras 4 figuras en ser distribuidas fueron Luke Skywalker, la princesa Leia, Chewbacca y R2-D2. La caja contenía también un diorama, unos stickers y una invitación al club de fans de Star Wars. Las figuras de Star Wars están hechas de plástico, miden menos de 4 pulgadas y poseen 5 puntos de articulación. Fueron producidos junto a vehículos y playsets basados en la película.
The unlikely center of every little boy's space age universe is the Palatoy factory at Colville in Leicestershire. Here the women are riveted to one of the busiest production lines in the trade. The staff here has just about doubled to meet the demand.
La mayoría de las figuras son ubicadas en una burbuja pegada a un cartón. Para el momento en que las figuras se materializaron para la compra, fue para la primavera de 1978, casi un año después del estreno de la película. Y aún así, los juguetes volaron de las jugueterías.
very, very hot here. Our very first day the new store on Fifth Avenue was open. We sold out in 3 hours of everything we had, but we keep trying to get more, and we have more now.
Las figuras se vendieron en cartones de diseño de Star Wars durante los años 1978 a 1980.
This year, a lot of kids are asking their parents for space toys for Christmas, and the demand is having a tremendous effect on the toy industry. Industry-wide sales are up by almost 8%, most of the increase attributable to the space toys craze. But Cincinnati-based Kenner Corporation sales are up 40%, and Kenner officials say the movie Star Wars is responsible. Last year, Kenner won the rights to manufacture toys based on the movie, paying millions in royalties. But Kenner says it'll pay off. They've shipped over 30 million Star Wars toys this season, and they're firmly convinced the craze could last for years.
The attitude we're taking in our planning is that George Lucas has created this marvelous fantasy world, peopled by all kinds of droids and exciting creatures, and we think that it could be another Disney. Maybe 50 years from now, they'll be celebrating R2-D2's 50th anniversary.
Many toy lines have tried to duplicate Disney's success. All have failed. But even if R2-D2 doesn't become another Mickey Mouse, it's made a very Merry Christmas for the toy industry. Rob North for ABC News.
Para el momento en que las figuras salieron al mercado, la cantidad de personajes aumentó a 8, llevando el número total de las figuras a 12.
With that certain picture packing them in worldwide, toy producers haven't been slow to take the hint. Star Wars has brought more bizarre costumes to the screen than even Hollywood can remember. Mums and dads are in for some visual shock when they go toy shopping this year.
La demanda de figuras fue tan grande que Kenner continuó con sus problemas de producción. El faltante de figuras para las navidades del 78 hizo que algunos pensaran que Kenner estaba manipulando el mercado. Ese año, Kenner vendió 40 millones de unidades de Star Wars con una ganancia mayor de $100 millones.
From Kenner, it's the Star Wars mini action figure collector's case. Action figures sold separately. The collector's case holds 24 Star Wars action figures, like Stormtrooper, R5-D4, and Snaggletooth. It comes with 2 plastic trays to keep them in, or you can turn the trays over and display all your figures in action poses. You can pack up Star Wars action figures and take them with you.
The Star Wars Mini Action Figure Collector's Case. Action figures each sold separately. From Kenner.
Así como las figuras, también estaban los vehículos y las naves de Star Wars, algunas hasta más icónicas que los mismos personajes de la película. Tal es el caso del Speeder de Luke y el Millennium Falcon de Han Solo. El marketing de Star Wars estaba esencialmente enfocado en la relación entre la cultura pop y el film.
The first two pictures in the middle Star Wars trilogy have grossed nearly $2/3 of $1 billion at the box office worldwide and have sold over $2 billion worth of Star Wars-related merchandise.
Los avisos de TV estaban apuntados a explicar a los niños cómo debían jugar con los nuevos juguetes.
Star Wars Land of the Jawas that you put together. Action figures sold separately. You can move the action lever and make the Jawa capture R2-D2.
R2, are you all right? What are they doing to you?
You can raise the elevator and make R2-D2 disappear into the sandcrawler.
Hang on, R2. I'm right behind you. Me too.
Kenner's new Star Wars Land of the Jawas. Action figures each sold separately.
De la misma manera, los cartones de las figuras animaban a los niños y a los padres a coleccionar las figuras con la famosa frase "colecciónalos a todos". A medida que los nuevos personajes salían, los cartones eran actualizados. Finalmente, recortando la prueba de compra, era posible cambiarla por una nueva figura, que era enviada al remitente un tiempo después por correo.
It's new Zucker, 4 LOM, an Imperial TIE Fighter pilot, 3 of 48 action figures from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection, each sold separately. And now, from Star Wars New Revenge of the Jedi collection, it's Admiral Akbar, not yet available in any store, but free with 6 proofs of purchase. For many Star Wars action figures, details on specially marked packs at participating stores. Offer expires January 31st, 1980.
Previo al lanzamiento de la secuela El Imperio Contraataca, Kenner ofreció su primera promoción por correo, en la cual 4 pruebas de compra podían ser cambiadas por una nueva figura, en este caso, Boba Fett. Esta figura fue originalmente concebida para llevar una mochila lanzamisil, pero esta idea fue abandonada por cuestiones de seguridad.
What do you want to do tonight? Oh, and if you say see Star Wars again, I'm leaving.
You don't want to leave.
You know, 3 years later, everybody comes back to work, and everybody's sort of more enthusiastic than they were the first time. The first time everybody was very confused by the whole thing and didn't know what they were up against. Now they had a better picture of what it was we were making. You know, it was fun to get started again.
A pesar del hecho de que la primera entrega de la saga fue un éxito, la prueba de fuego sería comprobar si la secuela podía igualar el éxito de su antecesora.
University Avenue shortly after noon on Tuesday. By 9 at night, the line encompassed several dozen people. The all-night vigil ends Wednesday morning at 11 when these people finally get to buy tickets to the first showing of The Empire Strikes Back. Do you think this is going to be as big as Star Wars?
Bigger! Bigger!
And yet a lot of the critics are panning it.
Well, what do they know?
Are you going to be missing any classes by being out here?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping this to be as good as Star Wars, and I enjoyed Star Wars, so I figured this to be a good experience.
This is not just a movie. It's Empire Strikes Back.
The big question mark is whether the Force is still strong enough to make the Empire as successful as Star Wars. If not, the future of the whole series could be lost in space. Gene Cubison, News 8, East San Diego.
left me confused. Didn't understand any of it.
Special effects were tremendous. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't like the ending. It could have been a better ending.
Did you shoot more than one ending?
No. This was the ending. The ending may jar them only because they saw Star Wars 1 and there was a triumphant ending.
Aunque hubo algunos que criticaron el final abierto, el film no solo superó las expectativas, sino que consolidó a Star Wars como una franquicia única.
Came out of the movie. What do you think?
It was a fantastic movie. They cut it short though. There was no real ending to it, but it was a great movie. Great movie. A lot of things happened fast. A lot of things happened very fast.
You think you'll see it again?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I loved it.
Cindy, you saw the movie. What do you think?
I thought it was real good. Real good. A lot of new characters, very interesting.
I was really surprised and everything. You know, I really thought that the sequel, you know, maybe wouldn't have been up to par, but it really wasn't. It was really good.
It's a nice beginning to a new religion.
It was fantastic.
I like that. Force be with you.
Kenner celebró el éxito de la película vendiendo los juguetes ampliamente.
"30 million of you have seen the film. Many will have read the book. Now buy the toys. Or at least that's what 10 million people in this country have done in the last 4 years. Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader and the rest have outsold the amazing Rubik Cube. So why are they so successful?
It's not just the teasing itself, it's really what they're able to do with the toy. I mean, half of it is in their mind. I mean, it's not just the play action of the toy, which happens to be very good, but it's also what they're able to fantasize as they recreate the Star Wars adventure in their own playroom.
The toy wars have already been won this year before a single advertising shot is fired. 5 million of these will have been sold by Christmas. But are Star Wars products going to have the durability of, say, that old favourite, the teddy bear?
In fact, it'll be here 50 years from now, and I imagine that the teddy bear will be. But as a branded product, it will probably outlive most products that you see on the market.
Now a sneak preview. Admiral Akbar will be appearing in the next Star Wars film, The Revenge of the Jedi. Will he survive? I'm not saying. But may the Force be with him. Bharat Patel in Colville for Central News.
Las variaciones existen para muchas de las figuras. Estas van desde diferentes esculturas a diferencias en la ropa y armas. Por ejemplo, el color de pelo o diferentes materiales. Algunas figuras tienen distintos precios en el mercado debido a su escasez. Originalmente las figuras con sable traían uno con doble telescopio. Esto fue cambiado muy temprano, en 1978. Las primeras figuras de los Jawas traían una capa de plástico como la de Ben Kenobi. Esto fue luego cambiado por una capa de tela.
And at Mile High Comics in Thornton, a rare Jawa figure. How much?
$3,000.
Star Wars folks must be laughing all the way to the bank.
El pack exclusivo de la cantina, de la tienda Sears, contenía 4 figuras. La figura original de Snaggletooth tiene un traje azul, botas metálicas disco y tiene el mismo tamaño que Luke y Han. A pedido de George Lucas, esta figura fue cambiada por una que fuera más parecida a la que aparece en la película y fue reesculpida, más pequeña y con traje rojo y descalzo. Variaciones existen para los cartones al frente. Estas pueden consistir en diferentes stickers de ofertas a distintas fotos del personaje. Variaciones similares existen para todos los dorsos de los cartones, con la excepción de los cartones 47 y 91, que solo vinieron de una sola manera. Hasta el día de hoy hay 47 variaciones de cartones reconocidas. Esto no incluye a las figuras lanzadas en el extranjero o las figuras de los droides y los Ewoks.
Star Wars was without a doubt Hollywood's biggest blockbuster movie, so Hollywood figured why stop at just one Star Wars epic? The Empire Strikes Back will hit San Diego theaters like a laser blast when the movie starts its run May 21st. Pacific Cinerama Theater is anticipating sellout crowds almost nightly. And with the renewed interest in Star Wars, toy stores are stocking up on all those Star Wars toys kids bought just a few years ago.
I would say that Star Wars has almost become a line. It's not just a fad. It's Star Wars and space are now a line of toys. It's as much a part of being a toy as buying trucks. It's much a part of the toy business.
And LeBoy adds the folks who make all those toys have come out with a new line of Star Wars characters to make your collection complete.
We've got the whole new set of the third generation of Star Wars figures. There's Leia in a new gown. Lando Carlson, I guess is how you pronounce his name. I believe he's a villain. He's played by Billy D. Williams. Stormtrooper in a new outfit. Han Solo in a new outfit. One of the rebel soldiers. Luke Skywalker in some fatigues, and people are really excited about him, and so are we.
And Hollywood says, don't be surprised that if in the not-too-distant future you'll be bombarded with still another sequel to Star Wars. Jesse Macias, News 8, Claremont Mesa.
The year is 1978, and Palatoy bring you Star Wars here on Death Star.
Las figuras de acción de Star Wars eran producidas en varios países, además de Estados Unidos. Estas eran vendidas por otras compañías, muchas de las cuales eran subsidiarias de General Mills.
Here on Death Star, Ben Kenobi combats the awesome power of Darth Vader, while Han and guarantee a battle for their lives in the trash compactor. Luke evades the stormtroopers with R2, D2, and C-3PO. But can he escape in the X-Wing fighter? Only you will know. Only you can create your own Star Wars. Death Star, vehicles, figures, all sold separately. May the Force...
En el Reino Unido, la licencia de Star Wars la tenía Pally Toy, que importaba las figuras y las ponía en cartones de la misma marca. Acuerdos similares eran realizados en España, en Francia, en los países del este, en Italia y Alemania.
Only you can decide. The new Pally Toy Star Wars models.
En Japón, la línea fue controlada por 3 empresas, comenzando por Takara. En Australia por Tall Toys, mientras que en México se encargaba Lili Ledy, en Brasil Glaslite y en Argentina por Top Toys.
Una nueva guerra con nuevas miniaturas de las galaxias. Otro éxito de Top Toys.
Rolling.
Peter.
Rolling.
Some people would have assumed that the Star Wars toys was a faddish thing like the hula hoop or so forth that would be here today and gone tomorrow. That hasn't been the case.
No, not at all. Star Wars, in fact, has become almost a staple category. And as long as they continue to make the movies over the next 20 to 25 years, we envision it being a staple category.
And space itself has become a big toy category.
Space has become a very big toy category. Took over for what at one time was cowboys and Indians and one time was military, has now become space.
What have you got? You got some toys already? Star Wars toys already?
Yes. We have the land speeder. We have some of the men.
You have Princess Leia?
Yeah.
You do? What do you got?
Darth Vader.
The product has been extremely good. Our returns have been minimal, and I think this is attributed to the manufacturers taking the time before they put the product out to make sure that there was some quality control in it.
Do they play with them, or they fan?
Yeah, they do. They use them, the people. They make up their own sets with them. We don't have any of the big units, you know, that come. But they play with the people a lot. They make their own sets with the coffee table, with the couch, you know, they hide them and stuff like that.
Once the movies are released, there's a tremendous impact, and of course just about any product that has Star Wars is gobbled off the shelf. The longer the movie runs, then of course you hit some flat spots, and people are more particular about the product. I think you're going to find that with the release of the Empire, that the children are going to come out, and the teenagers, if you will, are going to be looking for product tied in directly to The Empire Strikes Back. But eventually that will flatten out, and then we'll wait for the next sequel.
I have found them to be quite durable. Most of the small figures have lasted, you know, from a year ago Christmas, and then we filled in again this Christmas. John has the Battle Cruiser, and he has the 2XL computer. I don't know, he can probably tell you, with 3 kids, he can probably tell you more about what he has.
I think they did a sensational job. Not just the quality, but if you look at the detail in the product, and the fact that they were able to build a lot of character not only in the actual characters in the movie, but in the toy themselves. If you look at some of the items, you'll see what I'm talking about.
So that Lucas was in effect a genius as far as toy characters.
Well, I wouldn't be the first person to say that Lucas was a genius, but yes, he was a genius in the design of this particular,
These are toys. These are little men. This is Greedo, and then this is Hammerhead. See, this is Walrus Man, and then this is Snaggletooth, and this is Lando Calrissian. See? And this is Boba Fett. And look, they can even have wars. Look at this.
Well, we keep them in separate boxes, so he still drags them out and sets his battle cruiser up and has all his little figures. As I say, they have withstood 4, 5, and 6-year-old boys. So.
Well, let me ask you, sir. Let's get your opinion of these toys and also the movie. You saw Star Wars, I guess.
I didn't see much of it, but I saw half of it at my friend's house. He has a tape of it, and they switched it to another part of it, so I didn't get to see all of it.
How about the toys? You still like playing with the toys? What do you do with them?
I really take care of them.
Okay, but the first year when the movie was out, big sales, but then there wasn't a peak and a tapering off. It kind of stayed up there.
Well, at that particular point, there was a limited amount of product available. They were not trying to rush everything onto the market, and there was a tremendous rush for the figures. As the following year, as more product became available, there was still, at that time, they were still having lines getting the movie 6 months after it opened. There was still a tremendous rush for product. It took about 1.5 years for it to flatten out, and then they re-released the movie after they pulled it. These people are very bright, and when they re-released the movie, we saw another surge in product. They developed more product from the movie. Finally, last year, the entire category flattened out, and I did not go bad on us. We hit flat spots in the sales. Now we're seeing a general increase, and of course, there's a lot more product coming up that'll be on the shelves in the next few weeks and a few months.
No, it's for my 8-year-old son.
He likes the stuff?
He loves it. He's very eager to see the Empire Strikes Back, which I know starts today.
Can he get you to wait in line to take him to see it?
Sure. I want to see it myself.
Well, how about the older kids your age? I mean, nobody's collecting them like, as a fad or anything?
No one.
It's an action toy. It's a unisex toy, if you will, a category. And it's a staple as a category. There's no individual item that would be a staple, so to speak, because you're going to find that with the changing of the sequence of the movies, there's going to be new characters introduced, and these other characters will eventually die out. So it'll be the Star Wars theme carried through. Whereas Barbie doll is Barbie doll. I mean, when you change Barbie and Barbie gets a little bigger, maybe she gets a better tan, but it's still Barbie doll. I don't think anybody knows exactly what kind of product we're going to be looking at in 6, 7, 8, 10 years in Star Wars, but there certainly will be new characters at that time.
And you imagine there'll still be Star Wars on the shelf if he keeps putting out this movies?
I'm sure there'll be Star Wars merchandise around for at least another 25 or 30 years.
Okay. Star Wars has been very good to Kenner, which makes most of the toys and the play sets. They sold 40 million units in 1978, another 40 million in 1979. With the new movie, they should sell even more this year. It's enough to make your head spin. Right, R2-D2?
Las ideas de Kenner no siempre fueron exitosas. En 1978, Kenner lanzó una línea del tamaño 12 pulgadas. Desafortunadamente, para esos años las figuras de ese tamaño, que eran el estándar de la época, empezaron a ver declinar su popularidad y la línea fue cancelada.
Plans are safe and the stormtroopers gone. Thanks, Han. I didn't get this medal for nothing.
Large-size Stormtrooper, R2-D2, C-3PO, Han Solo, each sold separately from Kenner.
También, en 1980, Kenner lanzó la línea de figuras Micro Collection. Se trataba de una línea de vehículos, playsets y figuras de metal. La intención era venderlas al mismo tiempo que la línea regular. Los sets se podían combinar con otros de la serie para crear sets más grandes. Aunque fue una colección hermosa, no tuvo el éxito esperado y fue cancelada previo al estreno de la última película de la serie, El regreso del Jedi.
Here at the Esquire Theater because at 12:01 a.m. Wednesday morning, the first official showing of The Return of the Jedi rolls onto the big screen. The Force of the Jedi cast its spell on Chicago's sold-out audiences throughout the dawning hours. By 8 a.m., over 9,000 starstruck fans shared the new secrets of the Empire. The Galactic Faithful gathered in droves to put on a show to rival the epic featured inside. For some, the verdict is already in.
The biggest surprise was to see all of them together at the end playing Pinochle and having a great time. I wished I was there, and I'm going to try to get a part of the next movie myself.
This has left me practically utterly speechless, actually, but it was the best one ever.
The big surprise was seeing Darth Vader unveil himself to his son. It was very exciting.
The biggest surprise? Well, I don't want to give it away to anybody. Do you think it was worth coming to this late at night? Yeah.
Good over evil always.
The movie was perfect. It was exactly the way it had to be. It was a fantastic movie, but it was good. It was really, really good.
It's finally here. The Return of the Jedi, Part 3 of the Star Wars film phenomenon, which will open nationally tomorrow. And as Mike Jensen reports tonight, hundreds of companies are involved in the Jedi film. For them, the phrase, "May the Force be with you," means let the money roll in.
Actor Mark Hamill arriving for a preview showing of Return of the Jedi. Actress Carrie Fisher. Inside, an assault on the senses by this third in the Star Wars trilogy, the most expensive yet, $8 million worth of special effects alone. But that's only the beginning. Merchandise tie-ins have brought an additional $2 billion in retail sales. And this third movie in the series, Return of the Jedi, is bringing with it the biggest merchandise and promotional blitz ever to come out of Hollywood. Kenner Products is introducing 17 new Jedi figures, 3 new spacecraft. It's spending $12 million to promote them. Lucasfilm, which produced Return of the Jedi, gets a royalty for every product tie-in.
About Return of the Jedi.
Burger King expects to sell 16 million Jedi glasses for 49 cents each and increase its sales by 7 to 10%.
Right now we have over $8 million in Return of the Jedi glasses in our warehouses, and we're spending about $7 million on the airwaves to promote the program.
And all over the country, Star Wars fans have been waiting in line for tickets to tomorrow's opening of Return of the Jedi, to be followed by an avalanche of new merchandise to feed their heroic fantasies. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
Now, another area where Twin City businesses will share in the Jedi bonanza, the licensing and merchandising of Star Wars products, all the way from an operating Darth Vader speakerphone through records, clothing, food, and, of course, toys, where the Twin Cities' own General Mills is a leader.
For the General Mills toy companies, for example, that includes Parker Brothers, Fundimensions, and Kenner, the total Star Wars sale is in excess of $100 million per year. We've sold well over 100 million of the small action figures since 1978, and really a total of about 150 million Star Wars toys total since this phenomenon began. When Lucas came to us back in '77, and after a couple of 3 toy companies had turned him down, and we said, it really doesn't matter if the movie is a success or not. These are toys.
What do you think those people are doing today who turned him down?
I don't know. Maybe they're looking for jobs in some other industry. I think that George Lucas is probably the world's greatest toy inventor.
Whether that particular title is true or not, you'll find entrepreneurs in several areas of endeavor willing to concede that indeed there is something very special about George Lucas, creator of the Star Wars phenomenon.
El éxito de Star Wars continuó un tiempo más luego del estreno del Regreso del Jedi. Sin embargo, había más competencia. He-Man, G.I. Joe y el reciente lanzamiento de los Transformers empezaron a dejar la fiebre por Star Wars atrás.
All the hullabaloo about Coleco's Cabbage Patch Kids has actually taken some of the heat off of a competitor who's also having trouble keeping a couple of very popular toys on the shelves. The toys are stuffed Ewoks and stuffed Care Bears. If you can find one, you probably can't find the other, except in miniature, which many parents are buying in lieu of the stuffed Care Bears kids really care about. Both the Bears and the Ewoks are Kenner products. Why didn't Kenner's research supply enough for the demand?
You can do all the market testing, you can do all the studies, but until that toy is out there and until it really gets into the hands of the kids, you have no way of knowing.
Though Ewoks are selling, other stuffed Star Wars figures bombed a few years ago.
And so when we brought out the stuffed Ewok, we were conservative in the manufacturing, just as the retailers were conservative in their ordering.
And ordering is done back in the spring. It's just too late now to crank out all the toys the company could sell. But it's also part of the toy game.
And kids are so fickle, and the toy market is such that it changes each year, that you really need to create the toys and sell the toys when the toys are hot.
But this year, many parents are hot about the most wanted toys that nobody's got. Jack Helsel, Channel 5, Action News Tonight.
El fenómeno de Star Wars parecía estar llegando a su final, y aunque Kenner tenía varias ideas, George Lucas manifestó que no habría secuelas en el cine. A pesar de esto, Kenner trató de relanzar la colección con el nombre El Poder de la Fuerza, incluyendo 15 nuevas figuras acompañadas de una moneda coleccionable. Sin embargo, el esfuerzo no fue suficiente para revivir a la franquicia.
It goes without saying, toys were high on the consumer Christmas list. Of course, if you had stock in Coleco and Hasbro, chances are you made a lot of money this year. Transformers and Cabbage Patch Kids were the hottest selling items in Texas. On the other hand, G.I. Joe never got out of the trenches this year, and Star Wars toys really never got off the ground. 7 years after the release of the original movie, the Force isn't with them anymore.
Star Wars has been around a long time, and it's beginning to lose a little bit of its appeal with the kids. G.I. Joe is kind of the same direction. It still sells well, but just doesn't sell as well as it used to.
Aunque el éxito de la franquicia se apagaba, Kenner no se resignaba. Por esta razón, lanzó 2 nuevas líneas para acompañar los dibujos animados de los Ewoks y los droides. La línea de los droides contaba con 12 figuras, 2 idénticas a las anteriores líneas, y los Ewoks eran solo 6 figuras. No obstante, las animaciones duraron poco, y los juguetes también, quedando muchas ideas sin producir. Una de estas ideas fue solo producida en Brasil, y es hoy una de las figuras más caras de la línea. Para el año 1986, la línea de figuras de Star Wars había terminado, dejando un total de 100 figuras, muchos vehículos y playsets, pero sobre todo muchos recuerdos felices en los niños de todo el mundo. Por muchos años más, nada salió a la venta, salvo por algunas figuras de goma, hasta que finalmente en 1995 la fuerza volvió a las jugueterías.
Yep, it's been 20 years.
Boy, how time flies, huh?
Wow.
The souvenir mania is already at warp speed.
It has not only gotten cash registers ringing at the box office.
All right, get out your lightsaber. Hype surrounding this movie has been overwhelming.
Live from Mecca, the holy grail, if you will, for Star Wars fans, the front of the line.
We started lining up over a month ago.
It's like 1977. I haven't felt this since 1977.
Do you want to do Star Wars? They said, I said, too fucking
right. El relanzamiento de la trilogía original y el episodio 1 reavivaron el fenómeno de los juguetes. Y aunque nunca llegaron a tener el mismo éxito que tuvieron en los 70 y 80, continúan a la venta en nuestros días.
Hasbro reports current sales of the hot-selling action figures are outpacing Christmas-time numbers.
It's going to be the biggest movie of the year, probably. It's got intergenerational stuff. It's got kids and parents and all sorts of stuff.
Let's go, and don't forget the droid. We're on our way. Industry watchers believe the re-release of the movie trilogy and sales of Star Wars merchandise may make more than $1 billion in new revenue.
On sale at midnight, Toys R Us and other stores stayed open all night to accommodate the crowds. This store sold more than $22,000 during the first 2 hours. That is more than they usually sell all day.
In many cases, parents are passing on their passion for the Force to their children.
It's a phenomenon. It's beyond Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind.
Con nuevas películas y series producidas por Disney y figuras de acción fabricadas por Hasbro, el fenómeno de Star Wars continúa estando presente en las jugueterías y especialmente en los corazones de muchos niños y adultos que siguen soñando con esa galaxia muy lejana que George Lucas nos regaló hace ya mucho tiempo.
You know, it is my life.
I mean, everything I write is my life. I'm not writing some sort of hypothetical thesis on something. I'm writing a story that I have to get extremely emotional involved in because it's going to take 2 or 3 years of my life to do it.
This is the idea of George Lucas, a man who wrote...
Star Wars es para muchos una de las mejores películas de la historia. Desde Tokio hasta Buenos Aires y desde Chicago hasta Sydney, la maravillosa historia creada por George Lucas durante los tumultuosos años 70 representa para algunos fans casi una religión, pero para la industria del juguete fue un punto de inflexión. La línea de figuras de Kenner fue la chispa que despertó la fiebre de los juguetes de los 80.
Return of the Jedi Collection. Figures, vehicles and playsets each sold separately, only from Kenner.
G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers y las Tortugas Ninja sin duda le deben gran parte del éxito a estas figuras creadas por una pequeña empresa de Cincinnati, Ohio. Star Wars fue nada más y nada menos que la línea que lo empezó todo.
One thing I discovered along the way is that pleasure is short-lived. It lasts an hour, lasts a minute, lasts a month, and it peaks and then goes down. It peaks very high. But the next time you want to get that same peak, you have to do it twice as much. You know, it's like drugs. You have to keep doing it because it insulates itself, no matter what it is. Whether you're shopping, whether you're, engaged in any other kind of pleasure, that all has the same quality about it. On the other hand is joy, and joy is a thing that doesn't go as high as pleasure in terms of your emotional reaction, but it stays with you. Joy is something you can recall. Pleasure you can't. So the secret is that even though it's not as intense as the pleasure, the joy will last you a lot longer. And people who get the pleasure, they keep saying, well, if I can just get richer and get more cars, you'll never relive the moment you got your first car. That's it. That's the highest peak. Just accept the fact that it's here and it's gone. And maybe again it'll come back and you'll get to do it again. Joy lasts forever. Pleasure is purely self-centered. It's all about your pleasure. It's about you. It's a selfish, self-centered emotion that's created by a self-centered motive of greed. Joy is compassion. Joy is giving yourself to somebody else or something else. And it's a kind of thing that is, in its subtlety and lowness, much more powerful than pleasure. If you get hung up on pleasure, you're doomed. If you pursue joy, you will find everlasting happiness.